His name is David Mosk. The speech is to persuade or influence. It is from the Competent Communicator program. It is speech number 3. The speech title is Drama, and the speech time is 5 to 7 minutes. David has worked with teams for more than 15 years. In each experience, David's focused on the communication aspects, including the communication dynamics between him and his teammates. His hope in your hearing this speech is that you might consider where there might be unnecessary drama in your life and change it with applying different ways of communication. Please welcome David Mosk.
Thank you, Mr. Winston. Thank you, Mr. Winston. Toastmaster, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and honorable guests. I lost my track of thought for a second. So, there is a famous actor who was on True Blood. I don't know how many True Blood fans I have here. His name is Stephen Moyer. And he has a great quote where he says, "Drama is conflict. And the way that people choose to deal with that conflict tells us a lot about a person." The question really becomes, what's drama? Well, for my purposes, I'm going to define drama as a description of how people choose to deal with things that happen to them in their everyday life. The purpose of my speech today is to share with you some perspectives, some concepts and perceptions that I picked up along the way of my trying to change myself from being dramatic, which I was as a kid, to less dramatic, ultimately trying to be not dramatic at all, which is still a work in progress. So I'll open up my speech by mentioning that I was a dramatic kid. Part of it is my personality, and part of it was the environment in which I was raised. My parents were great, but they were dramatic. And any challenge that came about, they would react to it in a very dramatic way. While living at home, being dramatic is okay. It's sort of, oh, I'm just being dramatic. My parents were dramatic. But once I moved out, the drama didn't work for me as well. And I actually began losing friends and girlfriends, and I lost jobs because I would react to things in a dramatic way where they didn't need to be dramatic or sensitive or overreacting. I didn't have to overreact in the first place. So I realized I have to do something to make a change. And I sat down and I thought, okay, well, I have to be in action. Otherwise, thinking I don't want to be dramatic is not going to do anything. So the first thing I had to do was I had to accept that I'm a drama queen. I am. I react to everything. I'm sensitive. And why am I so sensitive when I don't need to be this sensitive? And in doing that, I started focusing on communication. Because I would read communication books, and everything talks about communication, which ties in perfectly to what Matt was talking about. Clear communication. And I'm thinking, oh, clear communication. I can use that. So I would keep reading, and then the books talked about focusing on how you're talking to others and how they respond to you. And the more I did that, the more I realized several things. Firstly, I realized that when you're talking to somebody and you agree with each other, there's no drama. No tension, no drama. You're having a great time in the conversation. But once there's a disagreement, that's when the drama and tension sets in. And I kept reading the books on because I'm like, oh, this is exciting. So I read on and I realized the reason why is because we all have this little beast that lives in our head called the ego. And it's like festering in our brain to the point where if we have a disagreement and we take things personally, we have to make ourselves better, or the other person's wrong in their view, and then it's just a ping-pong fight back and forth of emotions and drama. So I realized, okay, so I have to change my communication style. And I really began working on eliminating that ping-pong and really start asking more questions in communications. If I don't understand something, like, well, what do you mean by that? Or can you clarify more in more detail what you mean by that? Or if I just disagree, change the subject. And I found that the more I did that, the less tension and drama there was. So giving people their space was a profound thing for me. And I noticed that the more I did that, the more my tension disappeared with my parents, my friends, my work relationships became better because I didn't have to make myself right, or more importantly, make them wrong. So, in this short speech, I shared with you several different perspectives. My goal and hope is that you can look into your own lives and your own upbringing, and how there may be certain drama in communication with how you communicate with friends and family, with the ultimate goal of getting rid of drama. Because ultimately my view is that there's clear communication between people, then you essentially don't have that thing called drama, because there's no ego and there isn't any of this need to compete with anybody. So my invitation to all of you last time is live drama-free lives. Our lives are short. And if we can communicate with people in a way that allows for synchronicity, I think it's more powerful. Thank you.